Ahoj, já vás všechny zdravím u nového videa. In this video we're going to take a closer look at the verb dojít. Dojít, which has multiple meanings. Those motion verbs. I recently just talked about přijít, přicházet, chodit, jít. And now this verb is here again with a prefix. I also talked about different expressions with the verb přijít last year. This topic could go on and on, but let's not complain. In this video you're going to learn how the verb dojít works in 8 different ways. It all depends what's around it, what kind of preposition, what kind of case. Jdeme na to! Dobrý den, vítejte na mém kanále Czech by Zuzka, kde vám pomocí angličtiny vysvětluju českou gramatiku. I'm going to introduce 8 phrases in total and each will contain the verb dojít in a different meaning. So let's take a look at the first 4. Číslo 1. Došli jsme ke starému kostelu, which means we arrived at an old church or we reached on foot an old church. Ke starému kostelu, this is the dative case. And this is a straightforward meaning of the verb dojít. Literally, to reach a place by walking. So dojít plus place talks about arriving somewhere on foot. It can have various prepositions. It doesn't have to be k or ke only. It could be na or do. Došli jsme do centra. We reached the center. Došli jsme na kraji lesa. We reached the edge of the forest. So it depends where you get to. Číslo 2. Dojdi k babičce pro vajíčka. Go to grandma's to get some eggs. You can see here, dojdi k babičce means go to grandma's. This is the person you're visiting or you have to go to. Pro vajíčka, this one is the accusative. You're fetching some eggs. The dative, the accusative. Dojít k někomu, to go to see someone. Dojít pro něco, to go to get something, to fetch something. We could have either of these objects. We could say dojdi k babičce. We could just have this. Go to grandma's. We could also say dojdi pro vajíčka only. Go get some eggs. We could also have dojdi pro babičku. It doesn't have to be only objects. Go get grandma. And we could also have both. Dojdi k babičce pro vajíčka. K babičce, this is the place. We want you to go to grandma's house. Pro vajíčka, this is what I want you to get. Or who I want you to fetch. So to go to someone for something. Dative and the accusative. Číslo 3. Ten dopis ještě nedošel. The letter hasn't arrived yet. Nedošel. You can literally imagine the letter arriving, walking and getting somewhere. So this is similar to number 1, except it's more metaphoric. The letter doesn't travel, but it's being carried or it's being transported. But it's something really common in Czech. Hasn't arrived yet. We don't have to say where. This is all there is. We don't have to say ten dopis mi ještě nedošel. We could say that. I haven't received the letter yet. We could also say ten dopis ještě nedošel do Německa. The letter hasn't arrived in Germany yet. But we don't have to. We just say the letter hasn't arrived yet. And it's not only about letters, it could be about emails, about messages. Zpráva došla nebo nedošla. Instead of this, we could also say přijít. We could also say ten dopis ještě nepřišel. They are kind of interchangeable. And also, we don't have enough context here, so we don't know if the letter has been received here, where I'm talking, or there, where it's gonna go. In Czech, we don't really make a distinction in the verb. It all depends on the context, on the other words around. But here we don't have much, so we don't know which direction the letter is going. Číslo 4. Došla mi trpělivost. I ran out of patience. In English, we have I, the subject, ran out of patience, which is the object. In Czech, it's exactly the opposite. The patience is the subject. Mi is the object. The patience left me in a way. So once again, I ran out of patience. Dojít někomu něco. So this is for someone to run out of something. But remember that the thing that we run out of is the subject in Czech. For those of you who like to think about perfective and imperfective verbs, dojít is a perfective verb. And here, only in number 4, we could use also the imperfective verb docházet, which would describe something going on, a continuous tense. So if you want to say, I'm running out of patience right now, you could say, dochází mi trpělivost. Teď mi dochází trpělivost, I'm running out of patience. We don't use docházet in the previous 3 sentences. It just doesn't work. Now it's getting more interesting. Číslo 5. Kdy k tomu došlo? When did it happen? Why didn't we use stát se? Doesn't stát se mean to happen? Yeah, it would be the synonym. We could say, kdy se to stalo? Kdy se to stalo? Kdy k tomu došlo? Exactly the same thing, almost. Dojít k něčemu. This is important. Here, it has to have k. The preposition k is important. Dojít k něčemu. Something occur. So we have to have k, and then we have to have the dative. This talks about certain situations happening, occurring. When I compare stát se and dojít k něčemu, there is a slight difference. Stát se is more passive. There's no one responsible for doing that. No one to blame usually. You just say, stalo se to, it happened. Who knows who did it? However, when we talk about events, a war, an accident, dojít k is a good option. It led to something. So remember, dojít k něčemu. This involves an object and not a person, the dative case. If you see someone hurt and you want to ask, hey, what happened? What happened to you? You say, co se stalo? Co se ti stalo? You don't say, co k tomu došlo or something like that. When we talk about dojít k related to an event, something that happened, it involves a place or time usually. So when we ask about it, it could be kdy or kde, but not who or what caused it. Or we simply say that something happened, something occurred. If you're interested in this particular phrase, maybe I can make a special video about that. Let me know. Číslo 6. Počkejte, až na vás dojde řada. Wait until it's your turn. Wait until the turn reaches you. This is the accusative case. First of all, the word řada has a very interesting grammar around it, always. In this case is dojde řada na někoho. So the turn here is the subject. This is the accusative. And we can also leave out řada. We could also talk about something catching up with someone else. For example, karma can catch up with you, justice or your destiny. Dojde na tebe. It will be your turn. And we can talk about karma. Careful, it doesn't have to involve only a person. It could also be about topic, for example. A když došlo na otázky, and when it was time for questions, but remember we have na, the preposition na, and then the accusative case. Číslo 7. Došla jsem k názoru, že to nemá cenu. I came to the conclusion that it's not worth it. Or came to the opinion, literally. Došla jsem k názoru. This is important. K názoru. I came to the conclusion, to the opinion. We could also say k závěru. Závěr literally means conclusion. Názor means opinion. So we have dojít k něčemu. And here we have to have k. To reach a conclusion, we could also use a simple pronoun k tomu. We could ask, jak si k tomu došla? Or jak si k tomu došel? How do you reach this conclusion usually? A číslo 8, konečně. Finally, nedošlo mi, že zítra nemůžu. Promiň. It didn't occur to me that I cannot make it tomorrow. Zítra nemůžu. Here it usually means that I cannot make it, I cannot come, I cannot do what I promised. Nedošlo mi. It didn't dawn on me. I didn't realize. This is a really good phrase. Nedošlo mi. This is the dative. We like to be impersonal. One of those phrases where the dative, the pronoun in dative, is expressed by a subject in English. I didn't realize. It didn't come to me. Now that idea, that lost thought came to me, I didn't realize. Nedošlo mi, že zítra nemůžu. Nedošlo mi to. I didn't realize. It didn't occur to me. The thought or something that you realize would be the subject. Here it is expressed by a subordinate clause, but this could be also to. To, and that would be the subject. Nedošlo mi to. I didn't realize it. But in Czech, this is the subject. Dojít někomu něco. So something occurs to someone. What about docházet? What about the imperfective verb? Can we use it with these? With some of them, yes. If we talk about some activity, some observation, something that regularly happens, I don't know, if you're studying something under the microscope and you say, this usually happens when it has these conditions, you could use dochází. Dochází k tomu, když. It happens when, such and such. When it's our turn and we want to express it with this verb, we would just say that the turn came up or it was our turn. Here we could have docházet. I am realizing right now. Docházím k názoru. Here as well, if you're saying I am realizing, dochází mi nebo nedochází mi. So here is where we cannot use it. Whew. What do you think? Now it's time for an exercise. You are going to see 6 sentences and your task will be to complete some missing words. Only some of them. You have the English translation here and the words that are missing are either pronouns, prepositions or verbs in a certain case and form. Pronouns, verbs and prepositions. Pause the video right now and work on it at your own pace. I'll reveal the correct answers right away. And here they are. Pojďme si to přečíst. Let's read it together. Číslo 1. Na každého jednou dojde. Karma. Na každého jednou dojde. Číslo 2. Došlo k velkým změnám. Došlo k velkým změnám. Číslo 3. Dojdi pro tatínka a řekni mu, že už je oběd. Dojdi pro tatínka. Číslo 4. Teď mi to teprve došlo. Teď mi to teprve došlo. Číslo 5. A disaster for Czechs who love bread rolls. Rohlíky. Došly nám rohlíky. Došly nám, because the rohlíky is the subject. So they and we are the object in Czech. Došly nám. Číslo 6. Na dálnici D1 došlo k nehodě. Na dálnici D1 došlo k nehodě. The D1 highway always has something going on. In fact, we could say, na dálnici D1 často dochází k nehodám. There are often accidents happening in this highway. No, a to je všechno. This is all for today. If you want to practice cases and you don't have my ebook just in case, check it out. You will learn all the cases and very useful expressions. Mějte se krásně. Uvidíme se za týden. Ahoj!